The ultimate checklist to help you beat inflation in retirement, next on Retiring Today. Welcome to Retiring Today. I am Molly Nelson here with Clint Huntrods and Loren Merkle. They're both certified financial fiduciaries. Loren is also a certified financial planner, and Clint has a PhD. There's going to be a phone number on your screen throughout the show. Check it out there. It's as easy as a text. All you have to do is text the word journey to the number on your screen, and then we'll get you started on your next steps to retirement. We'll talk more about that later. But first, let's get to this checklist because, guys, it's not only a checklist, it's the ultimate checklist to help you beat inflation. And Clint, I know you love a good checklist.
I typically don't. I like to keep things in my head, except for big trips. When there's something big, important, then I'll go through that checklist, get the notes going on my phone, and then be able to cross those off as you're loading the vehicle or whatever it might be.
I think that's probably pretty common. Most big items or things of importance, people would prefer a checklist, especially one that's easy, that has things that you have to do. You can just check it off. You feel really good. And what can be bigger than making that transition from the working world to the retirement world and having maybe a 20 to 25 year permanent vacation?
And if you're 57 or older, there are a handful of checklist items that you could be checking off your list right now that could put you in a better position to retirement. And first checklist we want to go over is retirement income. But we can't talk about retirement income before we set up this issue of inflation. It's on a lot of people's minds, Loren.
Yeah, because every time you go to the grocery store, the gas station, it just pays more. And retirees, when they come in to talk to us, it is the top concern for them because they're looking at this discretionary income that they have. And the discretionary income that they have today is 30 to 40% less than what it was a couple years ago. And they're looking at their overall retirement sustainability and saying this isn't going to work. And then we go through the plan and we show them how it does work, or we create a plan for them the very first time, and we show them how we can beat inflation by using the checklist to make sure that they have everything checked off their list. So it's a big concern, but we have to make sure that we implement the right strategies to deflate inflation.
Yeah, and people are feeling inflation at the grocery store, but Clint, I think you've got a really good way for us to understand how inflation can impact our retirement.
Yeah, absolutely. We know it's important. Let's start to look at the numbers behind inflation and how that can impact a retirement plan over time. So as we take a look at three segments of a retirement plan, we'll look at income, investments, and taxes. Starting off with that income plan, and we start to just look at what is that impact of inflation to your income plan. Now here's an example of a family that's nearing retirement, and they're wanting to spend about $7,500 a month in retirement. So this is not going to be $7,500 forever. If we think about the impact of inflation, let's just consider that $7,500 over a 25-year period. Think to yourself, how much higher do you think that might be with the impact of inflation across a 25-year segment? Do you have your guesses in? All right, let's take a look. It's $12,300. Wow. So what that shows us is that if you want to spend $7,500 today, as you're maybe entering retirement, 25 years from now, it'll take $12,300 to live the same type of lifestyle, adjusting for a 2% inflation over that duration of time. And this is something that families are often surprised by, is just how much their expenses might go up over time, assuming no increase in spending, just the same cost of living lifestyle that they're enjoying right now. We also want to take a look at the impact of inflation on your investments and your investment plan, just to see how important this is to have that longer term investment strategy. So with $500,000, let's say that you've saved that for retirement. If you think about that same reduction of purchasing power over time, over a 25-year time frame, you'll see that $500,000 could go down to about $300,000 that then you have the ability to purchase from. Now you're probably looking at this saying, well, I don't want my dollars to go down. That's why I'm going to make different investments. I've had two different families that I've talked to in just the last week where they said, I've got $500,000 saved for retirement. I just want to make sure that doesn't go backwards. They've talked about things like digging a hole in the yard, putting it under their mattress, and they say, Clint, I know we don't need to do that. That's not the right thing to do. But that's the way that they're feeling as they're entering retirement, is I don't want to let anything go backwards on this. And so let's just say that they have it in a savings account at the bank where it's not earning much interest. The reduction of purchasing power over time would attribute to about $200,000 reduction over that 25-year retirement time span. We also want to look at taxes and what's that impact over time on your tax plan. What this looks at is each year how much it is that you're likely to pay for a family that we're working with recently who has a portfolio of about $800,000. And if we add up what they're going to pay in federal tax in 24 and then add it together with what it is in 25 and keep adding it up across their retirement, what they find is they have a lot bigger cumulative retirement tax bill than they ever would have dreamed on. And that's in part because they're looking to get growth over time. And then as they take distributions, what we would find on their $800,000 portfolio, a lot of it is saved pre-tax. As they start to take distributions out, they find across their retirement, they are likely to have an over $600,000 retirement tax bill. So we want to make sure we're beating inflation over time. That's why we want to look to get growth in our investment accounts. But we also have to be aware of the impact of taxation and how that intersects with inflation over time. This just gets to show us, just the importance of having that longer term plan to ensure that you're ready for that impact of inflation on your retirement plan.
Clint, those are some staggering numbers, and that's why a lot of people are really concerned about. Sometimes fast forwarding 25 years down the road, though, it's hard to imagine what those real numbers are going to add up to be. But what you just displayed there is extremely accurate. In fact, we just lived if we go back 25 years to 2000, since 2000, cost of living has increased 74%, which is the average of over 3%. You were just using a 2% number. So it's extremely realistic. And in fact, the cost could increase further than what you showed up there on the screen. Over the last 25 years, that was 14 to 15 years where inflation was near zero, and it still averaged over 3%. So we have to account for it within the overall plan. And strategies like putting money in the savings account, putting too much money in the bank can really get eroded from inflation, even at a 2 or 3% rate.
Yeah, if you're watching and you're thinking, I don't want that to happen to me. I don't want to be surprised by living expenses going up. I don't want taxes to take that big of a bite out of my savings, and I don't want to see my savings go down. That's where the ultimate checklist comes in. So let's get right into it, guys. Let's talk about some of the action items. Sometimes people think, I'll get to that later. I'll get to that checklist later. But if you're 57 or older, I wouldn't wait any longer to at least be thinking about some of these items on our checklist today. So let's get to retirement income. First one up, I know how much I'll need to cover my expenses each month. You touched on it, Clint. This is an important starting point when planning for retirement.
Yeah, and as we saw on the graph, we don't want to just plan for what it's going to cost to live our lifestyle today. We want to think about how that's likely to change over time, not just with the impact of inflation, but also how maybe your expenses are going to change. Do you have different trips that you want to do in the first 10 years of retirement? Is there a mortgage that's going to drop off? But just having a more detailed expense plan then starts to be a big area that once we know that, we can start to think about how do we provide for that through the different income sources you have.
And making sure you really have that detailed expense accurate is extremely important, which is why we really encourage people to test drive their retirement before they retire, which simply means 6 months or 12 months before you retire, whatever you think you're going to need in retirement to live on that number. So if you think you need $7,000 a month in retirement, live on that number 6 to 12 months prior, see what that lifestyle feels like, and then you're going to have a lot more confidence in that number when you retire, or you're going to know you need to change it.
We also see some families that just don't know how much can I spend, and that's where that larger, more comprehensive plan, we can start to show you what if you spend this, what if you spent that. Sometimes families, it's not always I need to spend less. Actually, some families now see that their plan gives them permission to actually spend a little bit more. Do those things in that first 10 years of retirement because they know they've got that secure roadmap to guide them through retirement.
Okay, let's get through a few more checklist items. I have a clear understanding of the guaranteed income I will receive from sources such as Social Security, pensions, annuities, veterans benefits, and more. This is a very important piece of planning for a 20-plus year retirement.
Yeah, because some of the most confident retirees are those who have really good guaranteed income for life. And doesn't that make sense? If you have $5,000 a month that you know is coming in every single month for the rest of your life, there's just a lot of security and comfort that comes with that. So get a good idea of what kind of guaranteed income you do have coming in. If you don't have a pension, you're not alone. Most people today retiring don't have a pension, but in the way of Social Security, most people do have that guaranteed income for life. So now it's a matter of how do you make the most out of that income, but other sources of income that are guaranteed for life. And if you don't have a pension and you want to create a personal pension, there's strategies you can do to enhance not only what you're getting from Social Security, but layer on top a personal pension. So a lot of options out there. Guaranteed income can be really important in providing that confidence.
And talking about creating that private pension, that's one area that helps families spend more confidently because they know they're going to have that guaranteed income consistent throughout their retirement coming in right the next month, rather than saying, well, it depends on what the market's doing.
Right.
And some of the investable assets, just thinking about protecting that guaranteed income stream allows families to retire with confidence and be able to spend with confidence.
Back to the checklist. I understand that a retired couple age 65 may need $315,000 saved for out-of-pocket healthcare costs. And then I'm going right to the next item, guys, because this is the one we're going to circle in big red ink. My current income strategies account for inflation, and that's what we want to help people do today. And I just want to say, too, if you're not able to check these off right now, that's okay, because you're doing the work right now by even kind of starting to think about these things and at least getting organized for the next step.
Yeah, most people who are looking to retire within the next couple of years don't have these items checked off. That's okay. That's okay, because you still have time to check those items off. All of these items you will find in a comprehensive written retirement plan. So all the families that we work with have this plan in place with all of these items checked off to make sure that you do make these decisions you need to make as you go to and through retirement.
We'll continue talking about the ultimate checklist to help you beat inflation in retirement in a moment. But first, we want to answer a question that we received recently during our online Journey to Retirement workshop. That's next. Welcome back to Retiring Today. I am Molly Nelson here with Clint Huntrods and Loren Merkle, and it's time to answer a question that we received recently during our online Journey to Retirement workshop in a segment we call Your Journey, Your Questions. Here's the question: will I have to take out RMDs on my Roth IRA? There's a lot of acronyms there, Clint. Maybe remind us what RMD, Roth IRA, and all that means, and then, of course, please answer the question.
Yeah, the RMD stands for Required Minimum Distribution, and that is when you reach 73 or 75, depends on what your birth year is. Now you see that the IRS is going to take a look at your pre-tax balance in the previous year, and they're going to start to force distributions out because you've deferred those taxes for, in their eyes, long enough. Now it's time to start to pay that tax bill down, and they're going to force distributions out for the rest of your life. To answer your question, if you have those dollars in a Roth IRA, those are not subject to required minimum distributions, which is part of the beauty of that Roth IRA, is that you are able to get tax-free growth, and then you do not have those demands where you're going to have that forced out within your lifetime like a pre-tax account would.
Okay, so which accounts do you have to take those required minimum distributions from?
It's all those pre-tax accounts, pre-tax retirement accounts that we enjoyed for all of those years, putting money in, not being taxed on that income. So your pre-tax 401k, your pre-tax 403b plans, 457, most of those IRAs that you haven't paid taxes on before, all of those at your RMD age, you are going to be mandated to take a distribution. So you have to make sure that you know what that mandate is as far as how much, and don't miss that deadline, because if you do, those penalties are really steep, which again is part of the benefit of the Roth IRA. You have more control, more flexibility over your retirement money in addition to all of that tax-free growth.
And this question came in during our online Journey to Retirement workshop. So you might be wondering, what's that? Well, that's the corresponding number that's on your screen where you can text Journey. What happens if you text Journey is you're on the first step to signing up for this online Journey to Retirement workshop. And in this workshop, Clint, we have a hypothetical couple, John and Sue, and they're going through the Retire Secure Roadmap. It's on your screen right now. So these are the 6 pillars that are part of a Retire Secure Roadmap, the comprehensive plans that you help people build. John and Sue stop at all of these stops along the way, and they stop at tax planning, and they sure put a lot more spendable income into their retirement when they engage in some long-term tax planning.
Yeah, and one of the things that they look at is a Roth conversion, which could make sense in your plan, something that you want to start to evaluate. When is the right time to do that? And then what you can quickly see in the Journey to Retirement workshop is how all of these different components of that plan are going to fit together. We just think about this question about required minimum distributions. That's starting to bring in your income plan, because those are going to be forced out. It's going to result in taxable income. We start to think about that tax plan, planning for that and making sure that you're being as efficient as possible. And you can just start to see how all of these areas start to come together, including your investments. What are the right decisions for how I should be investing today? And then what does that look like over time? Also planning for market risk and growth. One thing that we see a lot of families don't realize is when they are at the doorstep to retirement, they're thinking about a current account balance on a pre-tax standpoint. If they're not taking a lot of distributions between retirement and RMD age, they might actually have a lot higher pre-tax balance than maybe they are planning for. And those are all important to understand how all those those components of your plan start to fit together, which you can learn in that Journey to Retirement workshop.
And Clint, that speaks well to the example that you just showed us of the couple that we were working with that has about $800,000 saved. And if they did no long-term tax planning, they would pay $623,000 on taxes in retirement. And Loren, a lot of people watching at home, they don't want that to happen to them.
Yeah, and John and Sue were facing that very similar situation, and we showed you how they could save over $100,000 off their retirement tax bill. And from a tax standpoint, that's really big, but you were talking about inflation and how that really erodes your starting retirement portfolio. And in the Journey to Retirement workshop, we show how John and Sue combat inflation with their portfolio design to make sure they receive the income when they want it, when they need it, not only at retirement, but also 20 years into retirement as well.
So we're talking about this online Journey to Retirement workshop. We hold workshops monthly that you can attend complimentary. So what you'll do is you'll sign up and you'll find a time and a date that works for you, and then you'll get comfortable, because whether it's on your laptop or your iPad or even your phone, you will watch the Journey to Retirement workshop. You'll meet John and Sue, you'll see Loren and the retirement planners, and they'll show you how John and Sue not only save on taxes, you'll learn and see a lot more.
Yeah, you'll see how they check off their retirement checklist in order to accomplish their goals, and we share those goals with you. Now, your goals could be different, probably will be different than John and Sue, but the strategies that they use can be very similar that you can use to help you on your way to and through retirement. And it's very easy to watch the workshop. You watch it at home, about an hour and 45 minutes of great content with actionable strategies you can take out of there and implement almost immediately.
Yeah, and we get a lot of great questions during that workshop, and we answer some of the questions here on this show. So you can sign up by texting Journey to the number on your screen. We'll get back to our ultimate checklist to beat inflation in retirement next. Welcome back to Retiring Today. I'm Molly Nelson here with Clint Huntrods and Loren Merkle. We're talking about the ultimate checklist to help you beat inflation in retirement. Let's look at the next section of this. It's a forward-thinking tax strategy, and this is huge. The next checklist item is I understand taxable, tax-deferred, and tax-free retirement income sources. That is big in retirement, Clint.
A lot of families have never really thought about their tax plan other than working with their CPA on an annual basis. When we start to build that retirement tax plan, we want to start to think about what different accounts do you have, what tax type are those, and understand the different ways that those will be taxed over time, and ultimately just helping to build that plan so that we can minimize taxation where possible and help you to lower that cumulative tax bill, as we'd seen in the example earlier in the show.
And this is tax thinking, Loren, and this is also forward thinking on legislation. I think this next checklist item says, I understand that Medicare and Social Security, not only what my retirement income is, depends on what I pay for those, and also my tax picture can impact Social Security as well.
Your tax picture, because your income can impact the level of tax that you pay on your Social Security income. It can also impact the level of premium that you pay with your Medicare. So all of those tax words that you just rattled off, that was so much, what essentially what that is if you have those, it's creating tax diversification in your overall plan. When we talk about diversification, most people are thinking about investment diversification, but there is such a thing as tax diversification. And if you create that, like John and Sue do in the Journey, if you create that, not only can it help beat inflation because your spendable income goes up, but it can also help offset some of the legislative changes that can come into place and insulate you from some of those as well. So it's a big key as a part of that checklist.
And the next checklist item is I understand U.S. debt and the possibility of higher tax rates in the future. That changes retirement planning. You're looking at the tax rates all the time.
Yeah, and we always say that if you have 1 year goes by where you haven't had a proactive and forward-thinking tax strategy, you might have missed out on an opportunity. So every single year, we want to help our families in evaluating what opportunities do you have this year and what strategies can we be implementing, not just thinking about current tax rates, but also what the potential looks like a few years down the road.
And the next checklist item, that's the one you can circle in red. I have a long-term tax plan. And again, if you're not able to check these items off your list, that's okay. Not a lot of people who are 5 years out from retirement can do that, but it's the stuff to start thinking about.
This is why we created the checklist, because most people don't have it. This is a great place to start.
Let's talk about market readiness. A market readiness strategy. That's the next thing on our ultimate checklist to help you navigate inflation in retirement. I understand how much risk I'm taking with my retirement savings.
Yeah, well, how much risk you're taking is going to impact or influence your behavior as we go through the inevitable market declines. On average, we go through recessions every 5 to 6 years. So in retirement, you are probably going to go through 4, 5, 6 different recessions. We can't be surprised about it. And more importantly, it cannot derail your retirement. So how much risk are you taking now? Is it appropriate for what you're going to be going through in retirement? Because oftentimes, investment risk that got you to retirement is not going to be the appropriate investment risk to get you through retirement.
And that leads really into that second checklist item, which is I understand that my investing strategy will need to change in retirement so they don't run out of money later in life.
Yeah, and that's really just balancing. Hey, maybe I'm going to take a distribution from my accounts as I turn off that employer paycheck. I want to make sure that that's going to be there and I can count on it no matter what the market does. But also we think about that longer term view of your retirement, wanting to continue to stay pace or beat inflation, being prepared for tax strategy. We still want to take market risk where appropriate and where it fits within your plan, but we don't want to take too much market risk that's going to keep you up at night, or you're going to feel stressed retiring and feel like, gosh, I feel like maybe I should go back to work, or maybe I should get a part-time. And that just goes to that importance of that comprehensive plan where you can see that retire secure roadmap laid out in front of you.
And the last item on the market readiness strategy checklist portion of this is my retirement income strategy includes guaranteed income to protect my lifestyle from market volatility.
Guaranteed income means confidence, and that's what everybody is looking for. They're desperately searching for, especially in such a volatile world with a volatile economy and marketplace, that everybody is searching for confidence. That guaranteed income gives you that confidence. You're not going to run out of money before you run out of time. Absolutely imperative as you make that transition.
So I'm sure this checklist has spurred a lot for people, things they have thought about, some that they haven't. And again, if you haven't been able to check everything off, that's all right, because the Journey to Retirement workshop, if you attend that, if you sign up for that complimentary workshop, you'll be able to check a lot more of these checklist items off.
Yeah, and what we often hear from families is as you're entering retirement, you don't even know the questions to be asking. A lot of the feedback we get after families have gone through that online Journey to Retirement workshop is, now I know what I need to be thinking about. I know some of the questions that I should be asking, and they just have a better understanding of what that comprehensive plan can look like for them.
Who should sign up for the Journey to Retirement workshop?
If you're 57 or older and you need that retirement checklist and you're looking to accomplish your retirement dreams, the Journey to Retirement workshop is a great place to start, because not only will you figure out what you know, as you said, Clint, but you can also figure out what you don't know. What a great learning opportunity.
This is Retiring Today, and we thank you for watching.